By the time Michael Jackson's tour took him to Mexico City on October 24th, 1993, there was talk of a pending warrant for a police strip search of his body. This seemed odd, almost unthinkable. Making matters worse, the Los Angeles Police Department has seized medical records from the offices of two of Jackson's physicians, Beverly Hills dermatologist Arnie Klin and Santa Monica plastic surgeon Stephen Hoffman. "What do they want my medical records for?" a bewildered Michael asked one of his team members in a long-distance telephone call. "They can't do that, can they?" "Hell, man, they can do that," confirmed the associate. "They think they can do anything they want. When the rest of the troops get down there, you better let them into shape. Things are bad here, Mike. The records were needed to verify aspects of Jordan's testimony. Did the authorities really think such documents would still be in place? All of Michael's medical records from both doctors were long gone by the time the police arrived to take them. Still, one can only imagine the stress for a person as pathologically private as Michael Jackson to know that the police were trying to locate his confidential medical records. The heat was on. The investigation would not let up. That much was clear. At the same time, the police raided Michael's Havenhurst estate in Chino. When the Jacksons went to Phoenix for the funeral of Joseph's father, the police used the opportunity to inspect the estate and look for evidence there. A locksmith helped them to gain entrance. The officers seized books, magazines, photos, tapes, and anything else they might thought might be interesting, including Catherine's high blood pressure pills. They also found a videotape called Chicks, which promised to be valuable evidence since the slang word chicks is sometimes used by when referring to young boys. When the cops got back to the police station, the first thing they did was review the tape. Much of their frustration, what they saw was a video about chicks, as in birds. The troops to which Michael's advisor had referred were those Jackson team members on the way to Mexico City. Attorneys John Branca, Howard Wisman, and Bert Fields, as well as Dr. Arnold Clint, to deal with a skin condition brought on by Jackson's anxiety, and Elizabeth Taylor. They hoped to convince Michael to return to the States. The longer he stayed away, the guiltier he looked to his fans. Lisa Marie Presley also hoped to go on the trip. Later, Arnold Clem was forced to testify at a grand jury. He brought along his assistant, Debbie Rowe. The two testified that Michael had been a patient since 1983. The diagnosed with vitiligo and acne in 1986 and was given his first of many prescriptions of Benequin, a bleaching cream, in 1990. Clan said he had never seen, but on one occasion saw, when Michael had tried using his Benequin bleaching cream there. Clan also confirmed an incident when Michael tried to bleach his scrotum in the spring of 1993. However, Rowe treated him for that particular problem, not Clan. For the last few years, Elizabeth had been trying to convince Michael to open himself up to a romantic relationship. However, when it began to happen with Lisa, she suddenly felt left out. She was a deep insecurity about other women, especially younger women, says a friend of Michael's. I spent a great deal of time in her company and saw for myself the competitive way she dealt with Lisa. One of Jackson's associates was with Elizabeth and Lisa during a meeting. Both were sitting in the advisor's office discussing their concern about Michael. Elizabeth looked grand in a black turtleneck sweater and matching skirt, her hair in a buffet style. Her eyes, the world's famous violent pair, were concealed by large sunglasses, which she even wore indoors. By contrast, Lisa looked like a punk rocker in torn denim slacks, a white t-shirt, and a black leather jacket. I can understand if she doesn't want to be a star like her father, Elizabeth said Lisa later. However, one would think she would at least want to dress like one. I think we should get him into rehab, Lisa said, speaking of the belligerent Michael. Fly to be at his side, do whatever it takes. Lisa, no, Liz gave Lisa an icy stare. It's taken care of, dear, she said. I've been rescuing Michael for years. Well, maybe that's the problem, Lisa countered. Maybe he needs to grow up, do things on his own. Elizabeth cut her off. Or maybe not, dear, she said, with her tone sickeningly sweet. She made her plain. Lisa was an interloper. Perhaps she realized she acted rudely because Elizabeth then apologized and blamed her attitude on the stress of the times. Still, Lisa was chagrined and felt that Elizabeth had treated her as if she were a Muckle's groupies, rather than a trusted friend. She decided not to go to Mexico City because, as she later explained, she didn't want to make things worse for Michael. However, from that point onward, Lisa considered Elizabeth to be, as she put it, opposing counsel. Shortly after arrival of the Jackson contingent, a shouting match erupted between Burt Fields and Michael's loyal head of security, Bill Bray, who had known and worked for Michael since the star was about 12 years old. The protective Bray accused Fields of mishandling the case in front of witnesses. He screamed at the attorney, "You're blowing the whole damn thing. Micah's gonna end up in jail. What's going on?" One witness said Elizabeth agreed with Bill that the attorneys weren't being aggressive enough. It was as if they were waiting for time to pass to see what would happen next. You needed to get out there and start deposing these people, she said. There are liars all over the place, and they need to be revealed for who they are. All these housekeepers and maids and butlers. I know good help is hard to find, Michael, she said, turning to him. But where did you find these people? Look at how they turned on you. Michael sat staring at her with his mouth open. My maid turned on me? He said. Not my sweet Blanca. He he asked, sounding pretty dumb. He was referring to his maid, Blanca Francia. Where she once felt that Michael was capable of taking charge, she could see that he was now in bad shape. He was so drugged out he couldn't handle anything. I think now that he can't make important decisions, she said, look at him. What do you expect of him? I've been there, she said, referring to her own drug use, and I know he can't make any decisions right now. We have to help this boy. Enough is enough. She was angry at just about everyone in Michael's camp. Michael was so affected by Elizabeth's outburst, he collapsed into rocking sobs. What am I going to do? He asked. If you people can't figure this goddamn thing out, how can I? Elizabeth went over and embraced him. We're fighting, Michael, but it's because we love you, she said, almost as if she was talking to a child whose parents were divorcing. It was touching. And I'll be goddamned if you have to suffer another second over this BS. We will work it out, I promise. Michael pulled away from Elizabeth. I want you people to fix this thing now, he said, addressing everyone in the room. I'm serious, he added. My life will not end this way. You'll all be out. Fired before that happens. Here, here, said Elizabeth, clapping her hands. That's telling him, Michael, right into their A's. Then, after a beat, she added, just to be clear, you don't mean me, too, now do you, dear? He couldn't help himself. Michael burst into laughter, as did everyone on his team. After that day's discussion, it was decided that attorney Johnny Chakran, well respected in Los Angeles' black and legal communities, will be added to the legal team. Elizabeth has said that she wanted her own attorney, Neil Papiano, to join the team. However, she eventually agreed with Brackett and Wisman that Cogran who would later successfully defend O.J. Simpson against charges that he had murdered his wife in front of hers, was the man for the job. Johnny would have one job and only one job to sell this goddamn thing with money. There would be no trial. It was agreed. Michael could not survive it. He was now too emotionally devastated to present a strong image for himself on the witness stand. Whatever it would cost, it was decided he would have to pay it. If the public construed any financial settlement as an indication of guilt, it was decided there was nothing anyone could do about it. He would just have to say he didn't do it, as he has been saying, and that's going on to be the denial that lasts through the ages, some of the attorneys. The thing for us to do now is to save the man's life, not worry about the superstar's image.